Welcome back to another video. It's David or Dave. Dave's a good way. Red Chef Dave. I've actually been cooking recently, so it's actually been kind of fitting. I do have a bonsai, by the way. I have a bonsai. It's been kind of loosely being taken care of. I try to take care of it as best as I could because of Mr. Miyagi and everything, which I really enjoy his films with him and Daniel's son as well. Anyway, this video is going to be about step 1 of the 12 steps of AA. I think it's important to talk about it. I think each video separately, and then I'll make a video about 12 steps as a whole, how I've dealt with it. And I don't make this because I'm just loosely, doing it for no reason. I think it's important to understand that I've been through an alcoholic dependency, and I still have trouble with it at times. But I think I'll just go with step 1. So, and it's on the phone right here. By the way, Google Pixel 7, good phone. By the way, Google 7. I just call it Google 7. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So, learning this step was probably one of the deepest things for me to understand at the time when I did after incarceration, and I came out of incarceration. Particularly with me, it was really about understanding that, and with step 1 particularly, it's probably going to be a long video because I can get deep into this, because I really want to express this to people, why it's important to know the 12 steps and start with step 1. And there's the 12 traditions as well. I haven't read too much into that. I've actually read that more than the 12 steps I have. The 12 traditions are good too, particularly with AA congregation and community. That's a good read too. So I recommend reading the 12 steps. Get the big book. I do have the big book, and I'll probably read into it more because I think it's a good topic to talk about. I think I want to make big impact on people that are alcoholics or drug dependency as well, because big book of the AA doesn't just talk about alcoholics. Particularly, it does talk about drug abuse and drug dependency quite a bit actually in it. At least that's what my interpretation was, and many people try to tell me that as well. The important things to note about getting to step 1 and then going into other steps, if you do get into that. I've seen that for me, some people will say you need to work with a sponsor. I don't have a sponsor anymore. I actually got out of a halfway house, and that really fucked me. I won't say that. It really changed the way I viewed AA in terms of being dependent on yourself for these things. Because, like I said, a sponsor is always going to be there for you, but he's not going to force you to do the steps. And that's what I really interpreted it as when I was in AA rehab. Was that, okay, what is a sponsor really there for if he's just going to tell you everything, but you're not going to do it? It's a self type of thing. It's really about interpreting it as the way it is. And I was using gang stalkers and shit too, like shit, bro. Like I was on some bullshit about some motherfuckers talking about gang stalking as well. Anyway, like I said, the first thing about the 12 steps is really important to understand. You don't need a sponsor particularly when it comes to the 12 steps. It's not necessarily as important as people think. I think the 12 steps should be wholeheartedly dealt with by yourself. But anyway, let's just get into the specifics of it. Let me read it again. I'm not trying to get distracted or anything. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Like I said, that's really what's the important step of it. We were powerless over alcohol, and that's really a big thing about alcohol, and not just alcohol, but drug dependency as well. But I'll talk about alcohol specifically. I think alcohol is a really killer drug. I think it really fucks people up, and that's what I've learned personally. And I've had trouble even recently dealing with alcohol and everything, and it's sort of cycled back into my old ways. But I'm sort of breaking out of it. The best way to get out of the loop is dump the alcohol. Don't worry about it too much. Learn from your elders, learn from people that understand what the drug's really done to them. Mistakes may happen, but I made mistakes already. I've learned from them, and I've come across being more dependent on my own self-awareness and intuition, and that's what's important. even in content creation or anything that you do, is like there's people that are not gonna fuck with you really, and they want to fuck your life up. But I don't really speak those things in the universe. I don't, I've been through that shit, so it can be a little bit eerie at times, realizing that the dependency on alcohol is because of the factors in your life. That's what's important, and really just becoming someone that I'd say is like, well, you want to make an impact and everything, is like, it's really hard at times, but that's the men's part of it that I talked about previously in other videos below this, and I'll make a playlist of this as well, for you guys to see. I've seen that for me, it's really been about embracing that and knowing that it's a step-by-step process. But yeah, that's the first part of it. Powers of alcohol, and this won't be too long. I was gonna make it long, but I don't want to get too deep into it. Yeah, I'll talk about it more in other videos. But our lives have become unmanageable. For the step one, you got to realize that your lives have become unmanageable due to alcohol, or drug dependency. Like I said, you read the big book. It depends on your perspective on it. It goes both ways as well. Like I said, I'm not perfect, bro. I do vape and shit, but some people tell me that's not a drug. But there's some things that you gotta really take into account, saying you're not perfect. You're not even good, and like in terms of being, I say basically fine, and that's really what's important at every turn. But important is to understand that after you accept the first step of just being unmanageable, I'll get into the second steps, third steps, and some other time, but that's where it becomes a little bit more easier to understand your perspective in terms of being unmanageable. That's what I've seen myself, and that's why I worked the steps with myself, because I had a sponsor before. I had left the halfway house. I didn't communicate with him. I don't have a sponsor anymore, and I haven't really gotten into AA programs since then, because it's been out of my control. But yeah, work the steps yourself, bro. That's what's important. That's how you're gonna learn and do it the right way. And making amends is a big part of it later on. I've talked about it previously in the videos below this, in the playlist, or for you if you have that. I've noticed that's what's important, and yeah, that's the first step, and then the other steps will come into fruition after that. I get kind of paranoid talking about this, because I see that some people don't want this message to be put out for people, because it would change the world entirely. But I've seen that that's what's important, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Peace.